Hi. In today's video I'm going to make a survey on the Greenback Reissues and clones available on the market today. The reason for this video is primarily that many of you guys has told me that you these are the speakers you mostly use, you know, reissues and new speakers. Vintage greenbacks are extremely expensive and maybe not available where you live, so you can play them. So you're pretty much directed to playing these speakers. That's the option for many people. So I want to include them on the channel. So we have. I'm going to keep using vintage greenbacks. We need to have the speakers that you use also. And to do this, I'm going to buy the alternatives that is on the market today. I think is 6-7 different builders or brands, and they have a bunch of different models. So in today's video I'm going to go out on their web pages and look at what they offer and what information they offer, and I'm going to share the screen so you can follow me, and so we can and the purpose for this is to get all of them and first do a shootout. So you can follow it all the way, you know, from that I buy the speakers, get them, you know, and maybe do measurements on them, make burn in, you know, use Variac and see how much better they get and so on. And some brands offer pre-burn in, some brands offered customized doping and so on. So in one of the sections of this video, I'm gonna show you how I evaluate that for each brand's homepage. Another reason for this project is that whereas I have done shootouts between the original Greenback and most of these brands earlier, it has not been any rigorous studies. You know, it's not that controlled. I want to do it more with measurements and stuff today, so we know what we have results that we can really trust. But in the later section, you can see somewhere up here I put the agenda for today. In the later section, I'm going to show you short clips from all the comparison I've done between current brands and the original Greenback. All right, so the first question, what is the Greenback tone? And that's obviously highly subjective. But this is, here you can see on Celestian's webpage, this is the frequency response graph for the current Greenback, the current reissue. I compared that one in a previous video, so I recorded 15 seconds of the reissue, and then I recorded 15 seconds of the original, the 1970 or maybe 72 G12M original, and then I used Cubase EQ matching to see what the difference in frequency response between these two were, and it gave this curve. I'm going to show you. So the blue line here is 0. That's neutral, no boost or no cut. All the points that are above the blue line means that you need to boost frequencies for the new Greenback to sound like the old one. The Cubase program has calculated here. And you can see here on higher frequencies, they're talking about cuts instead. So you have here, it's hard to see, I think. This is 100 Hertz, this is 1000 Hertz. This is 3000 Hertz and so on. So you see everything above 3000 Hertz is dramatic cuts here. You can see it's basically, I think it's minus 12 or minus 10 dB here. So if we superimpose that on the frequency response of the Greenback, you get this image. So the red curve here is the frequency response of the Greenback we watched first. So this is what Celestian suggests today. But having compared it to the original, you can see that you need to boost Remember, everything above the blue line is stuff that needs to be boosted by this gray curve here. So you need to boost all the way up to, in this manner, up to 1 kilohertz. And then there is a small boost at 2, or straight, directly under 2, and 1 at 3. Otherwise, it's different levels of cuts. And here is the to cut at 6 kilohertz, because that's where most of the fizziness in the modern Greenback comes in. I exaggerated the EQ matching curve, but if we're going to match the dB values, it looks like this. At the end of the video, we're going to revisit the frequency response curves, and with this knowledge, now that we know how the Greenback Reissue differs from the original, we can see if we can find out something from the frequency response curves from some of the other brands, if they're closer or further away. Obviously, when I bought these speakers, we're going to measure everything again also. But now let's check out the web pages of the manufacturers. All right, let's see what Celestion offers today. Here on their web page, you can see guitar loudspeaker, ceramic, 12-inch, and they have 16 of those. It's these speakers. But you know, these are more modern. So what we're interested in here is these 3 speakers, the G12EVH, G12M Greenback, and later on, when we also compare the G12H Greenback to other speakers, we're going to look at this one as well. Now, some say that this G12EVH is the same as the discontinued Heritage G12M20. I have no confirmation that's true, but maybe some of you guys have some references for that. But these are the 3 Greenback speakers that Celestion offers today. If we look at the legacy speakers, you can see this is the 20 watt I'm talking about. So these are discontinued. And also the other G12H speakers, Heritage ones, are discontinued. If we look here, so this is what Celestion is referring to today. This tone, if you want the Greenback 70s sound. So I'm going to buy these two. These two are the G12Ms, and later on, when I do the G12H comparison, I'm going to buy this one as well. If we have a look at the specification here, you can see this one, really interesting. We're going to come back to this later. So this is the frequency response for the speaker. And that means I think they have done it. They have recorded the speaker at 1 meter, putting in 1 watt in it, and then they have probably used white noise. And here you can see how loud each frequency is. And as you can see, it drops off at 5 kilohertz, and like most speakers do. Hopefully, when we come to the other speakers, I'm going to find the frequency responses for them too, so we can overlay them or superimpose them and see how they differ. Now, there are a number of other things here, you know, that some speaker manufacturers offer, like pre-break-in or pre-burn-in. That means that they run the speaker with a barrier or something at very low frequency for 24 hours, and that is the equivalent of 60 hours basically of loud playing, which is what you need to break it in. And when it's broken in, some of the harshness in the top end is removed, and it's more 3-dimensional and spatially rich. I can't find anywhere that Celestion offers that though. One more thing here is the doping here, which varied a lot throughout the 60s and 70s. And I don't think Celestion offers that either. So we're going to look at that for the other manufacturers and see what they offer. All right, next is warehouse speakers. And here I've gone to products and British Invasion. And you can see here they have a bunch of speakers, but it is this one, Green Beret. And then later when we do the G12H shootout, it's this one, Reaper. Let's see what they offer here. It is so no pre-burn-in and no customization of doping or coating. It's a bit cheaper than the Celestion one. So I'm going to get that one too. I couldn't find any frequency response chart here. See if I can find that at some other place, so we can compare them that way also. Next one is Weber speakers, and here you see British series 12-inch models and ceramic. Let's choose that one. So here you have they have reissues for almost all of them, it seems, and it's this one initially that we're interested in because it's the G12M we're going to look at first, and then they have two, it seems, here for the G12H, and that we can look at in the next shootout. But let's have a look at G12M here. Okay, so you can choose impedance. Yeah, 25 watt. You can try a hemp cone here. That's kind of interesting. This is really nice. You can actually select the amount of doping needed from not much to quite a lot, and this influences tone quite a lot. For instance, in this video, Frånlinds and I looked at the doping and how it influences tone. We didn't do it in any scientific way. We just, lots of doping and not that much doping. I kind of like lots of doping. So good, I'm going to order this one too. No pre-break-in or pre-burn-in as far as I could see. Then we have Eminence speakers. We can they have a couple of different series here. So first, Red Coat series. As far as I understand, the private jack is the British one, but I think if we look at specifications here, you can see it's 50 watt, and usually with that power handling, they're a bit not as brilliant, right? Maybe. I don't think they offer pre-break-in. I couldn't find it, at least pre-break-in and not customized doping either. Here's a frequency response chart actually that we can overlay. We will do that later in the clip. I'll take all the frequency response charts I find and superimpose them on each other. Interesting. So I get one of these also. I'm not sure that it is a Greenback Reissue. Maybe it's more like G1265. They also have the governor here. Also a British style speaker. It's 75 watts, so it's even more high power, so probably a bit darker then. So I'm getting the private jack here. I know they have yet another in the Legend guitar series. They have a British one, but I think it was sold out. It is this one. Yeah, it says it's sold out. It's so the GB128. Let's look at the specifications. It's a 50 watt as well. So maybe I will get this one as well. No pre-break-in or doping customized here either, unfortunately. Next up is Scumback speakers, and the classic Greenback is this one, and they actually I think they're the only one that actually offers pre-break-in. As you can see here, they 24 hours per speaker on the Variac. So I think it's really valuable. I don't understand how anyone would want to spend the first 60 hours with the product, completing the manufacturing of it, basically. So this is great of Scumback to include it. I like that. So this is the earlier version of I think it's the 20 water. I'm mainly interested in the early 70s tone. So the M75 I'm going to order here. Then I don't think Jensen has any speaker that specifically announces that they emulate the Greenback tone, but some of you guys told me that the mod series had one, either the 1035 or 1050. I think 1035 maybe is what I'm looking for. Wow, this is really great information that Jensen has here. So I'm going to get this one. It's really cheap also. I think it's kind of $70 or something like that. Here is really good info. Here you can see the frequency response for the blue one is for the 16 ohm version, and the red one is for the 8 ohm version. So here you can see that they actually do differ. Speakers do differ in the 8 ohm version. Doesn't sound like the 16 ohm version. I've speculated earlier that is due to the transformer of the amp. If you run the transformer at 8 ohm tap, then it's a different number of windings gone through than the 16 ohm tap. But regardless of that, they differ, as we can see here, which seems logical also. And here you can actually Jensen explains how you should read this chart and how it was measured. Here you can see a microphone at 1 meter, and here's the specification for the cab and the baffle it was mounted in, and so on. This is really good information. Another cool thing here is that you can actually compare frequency response charts. So that's what I'm going to do manually by superimposing them later. But let's say we're talking about the mod 1035, let's say 8 ohm. We're going to compare that chart to a speaker that everyone knows, namely the P10R of the 59 Bassman. And you can see how they differ. You can see the P10R is a whole lot brighter, and so on. And here you could take any pair of speakers and just superimpose them. Really good resource. So I'm getting the mod 1035 as well. All right. Now in this segment we're going to check out this is going to be a summary of the speakers or the reissues I have compared to original so far. So it's just going to be a short summary. When I buy the speakers, we're going to do this all over again, and we're going to together specify the experiments, so we all feel comfortable with the results. Another alternative to Greenback Reissues is of course other cheaper, more common vintage speakers. And I'm going to show you two now because I think they're really still a good bang for the buck, especially the 1970s and early 80s eminent squarebacks that could be found in PVs, for instance. Check this out. All right, now let's look at the frequency response charts again. I actually couldn't find frequency response charts for most of the manufacturers, but Eminence had it, and Jensen had it, and Celestian. So we're gonna have a look at those first. But keep in mind then that neither Jensen nor Eminence has that it is kind of direct Greenback reissues that they market. It is kind of British voiced speakers. So it could be G1265 or maybe even G12T75, which is a completely different beast. So let's look at those first, and then I'm also going to superimpose Vintage 30 and G12T75 and the Van Halen Greenback on this one to see what we can read from that. Let's start with the competitors here. So here we have the private jack. So I have to deform that to put it on top of the Greenback, and then it looks like this. So you can see the private jack is the thick red line, and the Greenback is the thin red line. You can see here that it is a lot brighter at 6 kilohertz than the Greenback. So given what we learned in the beginning of the video, you know, where I showed you the EQ matching between the original and the Greenback reissue, there you had to cut a lot of the top end. So that's not promising for the private jack here, but you know, it all needs to be put in context. Can't just analyze one frequency at a time. But I think this is going to be way too bright, this speaker. Let's see what more. I think I had the Legend as well. If we have an overlay of the Legend here, you can see that there's a whole lot more content here. Let's compare that to the. We're going to check out the Vintage 30 and see if we can learn something from that. Because it's darker, of course. You can see that more bass here, which in turn will, in relative terms, push down the treble, I guess. So this maybe the Legend is an interesting speaker. I'm definitely going to get that one. So some of you guys told me that the Jensen mod series could be an alternative to the Greenback. I don't think Jensen has announced it themselves, but I'd be glad to look at it. You can see here the Greenback is the gray one. So it's the Jensen is a bit more mid-scoped here, and it is not as bright. Yeah, interesting. All right, I've also superimposed the frequency response of the Greenback with the other Greenback reissue, or the Van Halen reissue. It's blue here, and also the Vintage 30, which is black. And I guess this is the, you can see the in 1.5K here, it has a whole lot, Vintage 30, the black one, has a whole lot more than the Greenback. I think that's why one of the reasons why I'm now speculating that the vintage 30 can be experienced as harsh, and as you can see here, the EVH cuts even more than the Greenback. So this may be some significant information. And here, as we've seen earlier, the Greenbacks have more information here. In the the guitar speakers rolls off at 5K, so the extra content here makes them sparkle a whole lot more than the vintage 30. Then I'm not sure about the content up here, what this means. I'm having a hard time to interpret that. I think we have G12T75 somewhere here also. So here Greenback in red and G12T75 in black. And G12T75 is considered a very mid-scooped speaker. And then if you look at the frequency response here, then they must be talking about 3 to... So it's the upper mids. It's the basically the presence that is scooped out of the T75. Comparing this to a G12T75 and vintage 30s, just to put those aren't Greenback speakers, of course. So this is just to put it into context. Most players knows about the scooped nature of the T75 and the piercing nature of the vintage 30. So I thought it could be good to say. So I guess this, I've always thought, and I'm exposing my ignorance now, that the scooped, the fact that the T75 was scooped was kind of here in 500 hertz region, but obviously not. It's here, so that's kind of interesting. I learned something new here. And if we look at the V30 here, the V30 is the black, so it's the I guess this is the piercing. I always thought it was here at 3. Well, it's loudest here also, but not that much louder than the Greenback, which is red. You see here. So that's the problem when we use terms like punchy and scooped and so on, and everyone probably has their own definition of it. So should probably use frequencies instead. So to summarize now, then I'm going to buy all the speakers identified in this video, and then we're going to construct the tests and shootouts and experiments together and make a bunch of videos. So this is the first video in a row. But let's conclude with the knowledge we found in the EQ matching test. This is the frequency response of the modern Greenback. And this is the EQ curve that I constructed in Cubase that turns it into the vintage tone. And the really big difference here is that it needs a whole lot more meat here. Everything over the blue line needs to be boosted, and everything under the blue line needs to be cut. And especially here you see at 6K, it has a fizziness that needs to be brought down. So that's what we're looking for in the other speakers. All right. Have a great weekend. Cheers.